I'm a CSA survivor, and you need to call sexual abuse sexual assault from now on. In fact, there's a lot of things about the language of society that need changed, and lucky you, I'm here to explain it all to you. I'm tired of the same thing that happened to me, being groomed and raped for years of my adolescence and teen years, leading to all kinds of neural connectivity differences and dissociation and failed marriages and relationships, not sleeping. It's hard to have C-PTSD and to be a CSA survivor. And the law does not support us in litigating against our assailants. And one reason is because you and everyone, even my book, one of my books originally said childhood sexual abuse. It was my continuing efforts to survive childhood sexual abuse. But then I realized it's assault. And when we keep minimizing the language that we use, we are creating a buffer zone between reality. So, you know, if I punch you in the face, I did not assault your face. Or did I not assault your face, rather? I mean, did I abuse your face? No. Are you going to file abuse charges? Or are you going to file assault charges? So in so many ways, the language of society needs to change. And, I mean, from little girl, I left my first husband because rather than tell him what had happened to me as a child, adolescent, teen, he called me little girl all the time. He thought it was cute, and I couldn't stand to sleep with him. I dissociated to the point that I couldn't stand it anymore. I just left. Why was I the one scared to tell? Because I can tell you right now, if you tell someone, if you stop calling me this, I will like to have sex with you, then they will stop calling you that, I'm guessing. But I never gave him that chance. There were other issues, not saying that I am with the greatest person in the world for me. And I want you to be either alone or with the greatest person in the world for you. But mostly I want you to be safe out there. And I want you and yours to be safe out there. And it's not enough to just personally heal. You know, if you're here with me, you may have come through the last 6 weeks of the SPADES program, where we broke apart how to get through the steps, SPADES, you know, the shame is not yours, and separating the past from the present, all about dissociation and neural connectivity and asking for what you want, not just taking what's given in life, dealing with narcissists and all, you know, finding your authentic self, moving on to educating and advocating. Actually, first, don't wait to feel okay to be okay. Just dive into life. You've got to, you know, you're never going to not be a CSA survivor. Educating and advocating, though, that's why I'm zipping through all of that. Whatever your personal healing is, it means thank you. I mean, you're welcome, not just from me, from whoever you feel helped you heal. I'm glad you feel better. But what are you going to do about the world now? Okay? This is where you either tune out or you stay with me, because I'm building warriors for change, and that is a super simple thing to do. All you have to do is promise. And I'm not a cult leader. We're not going to make you sign anything. You know, there's no record involved. Just take a vow with me now that you will say something, do something, report to THORN, the people with the cyber capabilities, you know, connecting the world, connecting local, regional, federal police agencies with militaries, with private agencies, all together. They have busted so many sex traffickers, and they do it carefully and they do it anonymously. And if you are scared to go straight to them, just drop the information in my chat box. I don't care where it came from. If nobody's doing anything wrong, no one's going to get in trouble. But at least make a vow that you will be what I call on the Sweet Hero Action Team. And you will say something if you think someone's being assaulted, not sexually abused, assaulted. And if they are being what you call abused and not assaulted, I'm not going to nitpick over definitions, that too. Tell someone. Let someone investigate it. Tell someone in your hometown, but definitely tell Thorn. And you can tell me, sweetsurvivor.com, which I founded, and we have grown. I added this week a link to the Consent Action Network after JoyceMShort, the founder, got a hold of me and asked if I would, talk about it and explain to me the importance of consent legislation. So that's, as the wrap up on this whole program, what I want to do is continue explaining consent legislation and why it's important. A, there is none. Hardly. B, what little bit there is, which is largely because of the work of JoyceMShort. Please read her books. The cover is on the cover of my Facebook page. Consent. Consent. What is consent? Well, JoyceMShort is a childhood sexual assault and a sexual assault survivor. She started this decades ago, before the Me Too movement was in existence. She wanted to be able to litigate, and consent is everything, because there's no law that says what it is and what it's not. Not a law, there was no definition. Now there's a definition. Now there's a definition that is accepted in the legal system, thanks to JoyceMShort, who put it all together and fought tirelessly to get the word out there. So we at Sweet Survivor are so honored. I'm so happy that she got through to me, that I understand. I mean, of course I'm going to support this, but I hadn't given it a whole lot of consideration. And now I'm like, oh my God, you're right. The root of everything is changing the law, because as Joyce pointed out and writes about in her book, as a reference, think of the Emancipation Proclamation. I'm bad with these tongue twisters, these multiple syllable words, I think we call this. But think about that. Go back until slaves were not slaves, until they were considered free people. And then, of course, there was a lag time of citizens catching up with the whole deal. But slave owners could rape their slaves, and everybody knew it, and nobody thought anything of it. I mean, it's good gossip, I'm sure. And look at that kid that's half white, obviously the slave owner's kid, lets his own kid be a slave rather than, just unbelievable what was accepted until there was a law against it. And that's what Joyce made me see. We need to focus on that. We need to focus on legislation. So please go to the Consent Action Network. It's I keep doing that. I'm sorry, Joyce. Consent Awareness Network. ConsentAwareness.net. And there are super easy links. You can and phones, just call, just email, say, I want there to be a consent law, because I don't want a child who's been groomed and raped and didn't fight back, who tries to sue her assailant, to not have any grounds to stand on. And I don't want someone who's been sex trafficked and busted to fall into the legal system and get returned to their trafficker as a prostitute when really they have no way out. I don't want someone like JoyceMShort herself, in addition to childhood sexual assault, someone tricked her. She liked him, obviously, a lot. Boyfriend, girlfriend, consensual relations. But then it turns out he was a complete fraud. He wasn't the person he said he was. He didn't have the job he said he had. He didn't have the degree he said he had. He just swindled her to get in her pants. And that is not consent. Deception, trickery, stealing, thieving, arranged marriages, forcing yourself on another person, whether their dad said it was okay and traded them for a cow, or whether you weren't kicking and screaming because, like me, you were groomed from such a young age that it just crept up. It's a fairy tale, weird, horrible fairy tale land. And I talked about that in my second to last live stream. I don't even think I've loaded it to YouTube yet. I'm a little behind because it's only been about a week since I talked to Joyce, and so I've been uploading. I linked to CAN now at sweetsurvivor.com. We link to CAN. And as always, we refer to RAINN. If you are in trouble now, 1-800-656-4673. 656-4673, which spells HOPE. 656-HOPE will get you routed to a regional RAINN center who can try to help you. But here's the problem. I hate to be a Debbie Downer on, yes, they will help you. They will advise you. But as far as having somewhere to go right now, it basically doesn't exist in this country. One of my own nieces, just a few days ago, was very distraught to find, she has children at home. She was not at home. She's at work. She sees a woman on her porch, and it was freezing out and getting colder. And she called and tried to get people involved, called shelters, called churches, talked to me. I looked around. We couldn't find anyone to take this woman in. So finally, I'm like, you've got to call the police. And by that time I got her that message, she had already done that, because you got to call the police. But she told them, she told them, this woman is not a threat. She's obviously in trouble. Can you take her? I want you to take her somewhere safe and warm. And, even a cell is better than freezing to death on the porch. And I can't have someone on my porch, and I can't let a stranger in my house, no matter how nice of a person I am. And I wouldn't either. As much as I do, there need to be shelters. So Sweet Survivor needs to step up its game, because right now I have my shopping group that keeps, it keeps the Shopify store running so that we can keep all this going. But we've got to make money. We've got to make money. That, and I had a really long talk with the publisher today, and it's time that I need $11,500. So, who's got $11,500? I'm going to look at the analytics. It's like, click, click, click. But back to the language of society. There is a $5 a month. I mean, you've got $5 a month. I give so many people $5 a month, and a whole bunch more, 15 to 30 a year. And people on the street, what's in my wallet? I think that $5 a month isn't too much for everyone to throw down, for us to network, and help people. Anyway, there's so many things that we do and say, and this is a surprising thing that I want to throw in there. Everybody thinks that somebody who rapes a child is a monster, and yes, they are in one sense. But the problem is, I freaking hated admitting this when it took me a couple of years to let it sink into my heart and soul that everything I have learned as a neurolinguistic practitioner and a human being tells me that it's the language of society that made my assailant think that I was effable, that I was touchable, as a 12-year-old, and fuckable, pardon, I'm not supposed to do that, but as a 14-year-old, and then just a free-for-all. I mean, but this person, I didn't I can't wait. It just happens because we sexualize children in the way we dress them, and the way we talk to them and about them, I hear adults calling children sexy. My son was captain of the show choir in high school, one of my 3 sons, and at a show choir where the girls in high school are in Western saloon outfits, their dads were standing up screaming, "Get it, girls, sexy girls," and I just wanted to throw up or slap them or shoot them. All of the above, and I'm not sure which order the last two. So, if we want to change how our children are treated, and how girls are treated, and I also have Asperger's, so how autistic children are we've doubled literally, you know, the numbers are way higher for autistic children to be abused because it's all so confusing anyway, even though we mask well. We've got to make people realize that children are children. We need to not sexualize our children. And then on bigger, broader scopes, you know, on a global level, on a religious level, we need to not accept the language of society where my whole life I was taught, oh, these women, they have arranged marriages. Oh, yeah, these women are traded for cattle and livestock. Oh, yeah, these women, it's their culture. It's their culture. National Geographic, it's their culture. And it's like, at some point, I became a woman and an adult and realized everything that I had been through and realized that that's just a drop in the bucket for what a lot of people in this world go through. And no longer could I accept culture as an excuse for disparaging against another person's human rights. Not a woman, not a LGBTQIA community member, not anybody. It's not okay. So the language of society needs to change right there. Everyone, if you're going to stay with your religion, fine. You know, I'm a pretend Christian. I also have given my Shahada, so I'm a pretend Muslim. Am I really pretending? I'm a pretend Jew. I like to go to synagogue too. I like to see what other people are doing, and I like to take the love and the goodness and the kindness and the decency. And I also want to see where they're going wrong. And if I were really within that religion, and if you are, what I encourage you to do, and that's a nice way of putting it, really I goddamn demand you to, if you're going to hang out with me, is fix or flee. So take the love and the goodness and the kindness and the decency, and take the potluck dinners and all the good food the old ladies bring, and reject and educate from within. Tell them our religion doesn't support this. This is culture, and culture is not religion, and a culture that disparages against other people is not okay. So let's re-examine our religion, and let's see where maybe it's been misinterpreted, like maybe by patriarchal societies for millennia. Do you think that's possible? I need to take a moment. I say when you need to take a moment, and I prepared with tequila, honestly. Although I didn't drink it, but I'm going to have a sip now to steady my nerves. So I'm close to this book being published. Had a wonderful hour and a half long meeting today with the publisher. Got the largest publicist of self-help books in the world. That is Steve Harrison. This is my plea for money. If you want to tune out now, go ahead. But I need money. I need money. There's going to be a Kickstarter. The Sweet Survivors for the workshops. We need to raise the money because there are so many big things in the work. Steve Harrison is the publicist for Jack Canfield, all of his stuff, Chicken Soup for the Soul, the entire series, for the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, for Kellyanne's Bone Broth Diet series. Just, if it's a huge name you know, then Steve Harrison is their publicist. And I want to attend the Publicity Summit, and they have already vetted me to attend, but I'm going to need, between that and the publisher, about $17,000. That's all. So, endorsement letters for the books requests, rather, are going out. Sponsorship requests are going out shortly. Anytime you watch the trailers, you know, don't be illegal about it. I'm not saying sit there and play it 30 times because that would be wrong. I'm saying that every reel that hits 1,000 gets us $5. And 4 to 6, but I'm averaging 5. And you know, at this point, $5 is a turnaround. It's a turnaround thing. I do not support myself off a Sweet Survivor. That is not the bag. We are working on nonprofit status, but that also costs money. So I'm very glad, pardon me, I'm discombobulated. I'm very glad to get seen. This is a sonic screwdriver. And JoyceMShort is the mover and shaker in the consent legislation. She defined it, and here's what it is. This is where we're going to end, maybe, unless I go on. We'll see. I'd like you from now on, and I've been asked by JoyceMShort, founder of the Consent Awareness Network. God, I gotta get that right. It's only been a week. I'll get it. I'm going to make it a mantra tonight. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to say consent awareness, consent awareness. And I've known of it for years, but every time I say it, I said it wrong the first time, so now I keep doing it. But anyway, I'll edit all that out. JoyceMShort defined what is now being put before all major government officials. There is legislature in place, but we don't have the one definition pinned down everywhere. So we want to federally mandate this, and here's your hashtag. It's FGKIA, freely given, knowledgeable, informed consent. So I'm going to break that down for you. Freely given, not traded for a cow or a goat, not arranged into a marriage. And even though you're not kicking and screaming, we know you don't have anything to say about it if you're in that place or in that family. I know people in families in America. I know someone this happened to, where the father wouldn't come to the wedding because she married a non-Muslim. And they even had a traditional Muslim wedding. So just, you've got to be the one who doesn't just personally heal, but goes out there and changes the world. And you use F, freely, given. Oh, I have to talk about that. Freely given, knowledgeable. You're not in a coma. You're not a child who's been groomed. Right now, when you go to court, go to CAN and read some of the judge's decisions and why. It's based on ridiculous nonsense that a person who's not kicking and screaming and fighting back has given consent. We need to legislate. Freely given, knowledgeable, informed. Freely given, knowledgeable, informed agreement. So, FGKIA, please use that hashtag, and please go to CAN and make your voice heard. It was something I thought, something came up in there. I wanted to say, it was belief. It was about talking about the culture and the religious thing. I want to just throw down that belief is not the same as religion. Belief is just a thought you keep thinking. If you keep thinking a thought enough, you're going to believe it. Just like I have C-PTSD, and because of my childhood and what happened, and the grooming and the raping and the disassociation, I developed a certain type of neural network, and mine is really happy to fight or flee, and it's also happy to dissociate. And this is the amygdala, that's why I point here. It's enlarged in people with C-PTSD, we now know, across the board. The hippocampus is shrunk. It's reduced in people with C-PTSD of any form, especially childhood sexually induced C-PTSD. And this is your logic and your reason. And so your neural network is different, which is why I became an NLP, because I realized it combines everything else I've learned. It throws away the antidepressants and the drugs and the crap that it may level you out, but it also takes away your ability to feel. You want to grow and progress, not just make it through the day. There's another site, Beyond Surviving. A woman has a book, I can't remember her name offhand. Check that out. She's really interesting. Also, the Crappy Childhood Fairy. I watch everything the Crappy Childhood Fairy does. And no, it's not a dildo. It is a sonic screwdriver. And if you can't accomplish it with your sonic screwdriver, then you can't accomplish it. So here we go, guys. I want you to go out and change the language of society, okay? If I can do it with a sonic screwdriver, you can help me with your will, because everybody knows, like the Jedi Force, it's the will that drives the power, and the power is the change. And no one's going to make it but us, because they don't give a goddamn. But we do, because we've been there. Or we know someone that has. Or we're married to someone that has. Or we're a doctor for someone that has. Or we saw on TV a bunch of people dying because people just can't be nice. That's a whole nother thing. Sunday school starts this Sunday. So I will be doing my Sunday school live stream where we get a little more broad. But just don't forget, dressing your children sexy, referring to everything in sexy terms, putting toddlers in clothes that would be considered sexy on a grown-up, Halloween costumes that have morphed over the years to where a cowgirl now is in a lace-up hooker thing instead of a flannel shirt. Look at my reel. This isn't progress. Looking sexy, acting sexy leads to sexual behavior. It leads to people thinking of you sexually. If you don't want people preying on your children, boys or girls or others, do not encourage the sexualization of children in the society. You've got to change the language. Talk to you Sunday. Like, subscribe. Even if you don't, it helps the algorithm. We need to get in front of more people, and please donate. I only need about $17,000, but I'll settle for $11,500 right now, because the rest of it I don't need for a few months. Not till January. Bye. See ya. All right, now, all I need is a magnanimous miracle. All I need is a magnanimous miracle. That should be a terrible, terrible song. All I need is a magnanimous, magnanimous